Hello, everybody. I have shared, at least in my opinion, some pretty cool stuff over the past few days. And I don't say that in a conceited way. I mean, there is some cool stuff that other people have been creating that I've been sharing with you all. And I wanted to tie a lot of it together into one project just to kind of show you what it might be like to create a Quasar project that is fast, that is really easy to style using UnoCSS, which I've talked about over the past few days. And I'm also going to show you how to clean up your single file components using another plugin by Anthony Fu called unplugin-auto-import. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, first of all, here I am at the Quasar documentation for installing the Quasar Vite plugin. And by the way, this is what has made a lot of this stuff possible. The fact that we can now use Quasar with Vite basically opens up the entire world of Vite to us. And now we can start integrating Quasar in some really, really interesting ways. So this is a really big deal, at least in my opinion. So the first thing we're going to do is start a new template. Let's grab that and we'll give, whoops, I want to be able to name it. I accidentally grabbed the new line as well. So let's grab that, and how about we name it something like Quasar-UnoCSS. That's probably a good name for it. And then if we come down here, it's going to show us how to install the Quasar stuff onto Vite. So if I come back here, we'll cd into Quasar-UnoCSS, open that in code. There we go. We can go ahead and start playing around. Now it's saying we want to add in here Quasar extras, so let's go ahead and add that in. And then we also want to add in the Vite plugin for Quasar. And this Sass part here is so that we can use Sass with Quasar as well. All right, so I'll wait for that to install. And let's just scroll down here before I keep going. Another cool thing is basically Quasar's created this really awesome tool to allow you to set up a new Vite project with Quasar really easily. So you can say the stuff that you want to use in order to get started, and it'll give you all the files that you can just paste directly in there. All right, so let's come down here, install that other thing, which was Vite plugin and the Sass thing. And now this is for the main.js file, so I'm going to copy that. And I'll go to source, main.js, and I'm just going to overwrite that with the Quasar one. Same with the Vite config. Let's copy that, come down here, and then we'll just paste that directly in. And the last thing is our Quasar variables file. So we're going to create this one, and that's a new file here called quasar-variables.sass. So let's paste that directly in there, and we're ready to go. Might just remove that. So I'm pretty sure that is it. Let's run yarn dev and see what happens. And there we go. It starts up ridiculously fast. And now that we're kind of in dev mode, I might throw that over there and then grab this screen and just put it over in here, just so it's easier for us to sort of play around with. There we go. All right, so I'll open that up. Give it a second, and it looks like everything is working. Not getting any errors in the console. And if I jump into main, where's the first? Here we go, app.view. I'm used to starting a new Quasar project, so this is kind of different for me. Let's just add a Q- button to check if it's working. Click me. Save that. And there we go. We've now got Quasar integrated with Vite, which is really, really cool. All right, so what next? Now, if I come over here, the Quasar part is done. Let's see if we can get UnoCSS set up. And I've talked about this before. UnoCSS basically just makes, man, I can't even just, there's some really amazing stuff happening in this library. It's basically like a lower level engine for something like Tailwind, which gives you a ridiculous amount of flexibility with utility classes. Anyway, let's just install it and I'll show you what it's like to use. It's really quite wonderful. So instead of npm, I'm going to use yarn. So we'll say yarn add -d for that. We might just close the server. Yarn add -d UnoCSS. All right, so we're pulling in the dependency. Now in vite.config, this one is TypeScript. We're just going to use the JavaScript version though. Let's jump in there and we're going to import UnoCSS for Vite. There we go. I'll get rid of that. So that's that part. And then we want to actually use the plugin. So all we have to do, I believe, is throw it in here somewhere. Might throw it in after Quasar. There we go. And we'll just give it empty options for now. And the last thing we want to do is go into our main entry file, so main.js, and we want to import it. And so I'm just going to import it here. Let's add a comment. Import UnoCSS. Save that, and I think that might be it. Now we can run yarn dev, give this a second to load, and we might be able to just use it straight out. Let's refresh this. All right, so it looks like something's going wrong. Let's try running yarn again here. No, I think everything is installed. Let's go back and actually read that message properly. So, yarn dev. Okay, it seems to be working now. So, looks like I just had to run the dev server a second time. Now, what's a good example of how I can use this though? Let's go q-card, q-card-section. And instead of doing this in app, actually, let's come back to when we had the hello world part in there. And we'll edit the hello world component instead. All right, here we go. So we've got script set up. I'm going to get rid of everything there for now. Just put in a comment. And let's just do some basically pure Quasar stuff. So we'll say q-card, q-card-section as well. And then maybe we'll add an input in there. And we'll have a label equal to name and email. We'll say v-model is equal to form.name or email. There we go. I need a linter set up here, but we'll save that for another time. Now we can say here const form is equal to a reference, and we'll pull in ref. By the way, I'm going to show you how to auto-import ref in a moment. And let's just make that a form that's got name equal to nothing by default and email equal to nothing by default. Maybe that's something that we can play around with to begin with. All right, there we go. And I'm going to add a little bit of styling here. We'll make those filled. And now let's start playing around with some of these UnoCSS utility classes. So the way we're used to doing it is something like this. Q-margin bottom dash small, something like that. And then that gives us a small margin on the bottom. However, it turns out, well, now that we're using UnoCSS, we can do this in a few ways. So we could say, for example, class is equal to margin bottom dash 3, for example. So let's save that, refresh the page, and now we've got a margin bottom of 3. I might not have to refresh anymore. Let's change it to 5. Okay, for some reason, I'm not getting hot module reload. Let's try restarting this, closing that down. I wonder why HMI is not working. It was working for me before, so I know that it can work. Change that to 7. All right, for now, I'll just refresh the page. I'm not sure what that's about. So now we're using UnoCSS, and basically this CSS is only being included when we use it. So it's being basically compiled on demand. And there's a few other ways that you can write this as well. Now, I can't actually remember them. I don't have them from memory, but I think you can say, for example, margin is equal to, I don't know, let's try putting in 8 there. I think I might have done something wrong. That's probably not going to work. No. So margin, maybe B-8 for margin bottom 8. Okay, I can't remember. So we might just come down to the docs here and have a look at some of the ones that are included in the preset, which is what we're using by default here. And I want to look at the attributify section. Right, probably shouldn't be doing this on a live stream. All right, so what's happening here? We could do... Yeah, right. I should probably actually just go to the article and look at the attributify section in his article. Or even on the online playground. That'll give us a really good idea. Yeah, so we've got stuff like OP for opacity, and then M, and then whatever it is. Okay, so we could say, for example, M for margin, and then bottom 8. I think that's how we're supposed to do it. Let's give that a refresh. Oh man, I'm still doing something wrong. What about top 8? Something like that. All right, anyway, UnoCSS is working. It just turns out that I'm not really using it the way that I should be using it. And I think that maybe this is pulling in a different preset to what is pulled in by default. But anyway, you can have a play around with that and getting it set up however you like it. And I'll quickly show you how the presets work. So we come in here. Basically, there's a bunch of presets that you can use. So there's a default preset. Here we go. It's telling us that we can use some of the Tailwind ones. But yeah, there's a couple of other ones. So you've got the Uno preset. Looks like we've got the Attributify one. And potentially you could then have Tailwind presets that, follow the Tailwind conventions. You could also have Tachyon presets, etc. and stuff like that, which is really cool. And then you can start sort of messing around with it. So I wonder if one of the problems is you can't actually use the Attributify on Quasar components yet. So that's something that I'll have to look into. But anyway, that's kind of us getting started using Quasar with Vite using UnoCSS. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how you can basically get rid of this import here. So by default, you have to import everything. However, there's this library that Anthony Fu, who by the way is the creator of UnoCSS, and it's called unplugin-auto-import. And this basically allows you to have auto imports of common things like ref, or basically anything you want. You can customize it however you like. Type just M2. All right, that's going to work. Here we go. Thank you, Kevin, for jumping in and giving me a hand there. So let's go back. Apparently, I can just write M2 here. Save that. Looks like my server isn't restarting, though. Maybe that's the problem. So maybe it wasn't being watched. Yeah, I think maybe the problem is the fact that I'm doing this on a Quasar component. So how about if we say M2 there and see what happens? Or maybe like padding 2. Or let's try padding 8 just to make it a bit more obvious. Nah, so nothing seems to be working there, but it seems to work when I say class is equal to padding 8. Let's try that. And then instantly that works. So it seems like maybe some of these Attributify things aren't working. In fact, I'm just going to quickly look at the Attributify section. Type MT7. All right, let's give that a try. Thanks for helping me here, by the way. Where am I? Okay, let's jump back in there. Card section, probably not the best place to try it. Let's try it here, MT7. Now, the other thing is, though, maybe that's getting overwritten by Quasar CSS. Now, I doubt that that's the problem. Yeah. I'm not sure what the case is there, but maybe somebody can watch this stream later on and then let us know if there's anything we can do to get that working. Now, actually, another thing I could test, just to test this, is to put a div in there, a plain div, and say margin top 7. Yeah, okay, so I'd say that this has got something to do with the preset. Maybe by default, the preset doesn't include Attributify. I don't know. Let's look up Attributify here. Attribute, maybe it hasn't been loaded yet to scroll down the page. Yeah. I thought there was an Attributify section where he talks about that. Let's come down and have a look. Okay, here it is here. Why didn't it work? Oh, Attributify has got 2 T's in it. Anyway, let's just try pasting some of these in. So something like that, for example, and see what happens when I come back here. Yeah, so it looks like that's still not working for me. Let's shut that down, start it up again. Anyway, you don't want to sit here and watch me debug, so I'm going to try and figure that out on my own. For now, I'm going to quickly I'll figure it out on my own and then come back to you all and then let you know how I did it. of course. But let's come back to this issue here and see if we can make it so that ref is auto-imported. And so let's go to unplugin-auto-import and see how we install this with Vite. So first we have to actually install it. So let's close that down for now and say yarn add unplugin-auto-import. And now if I come into my vite.config file, I'm going to import auto-import, which is kind of ironic. So we put that there, and then we're going to add that to our plugin section. And there we go. And I probably don't need that. Now, there are some presets as well. Global imports to register. Yeah, so you've got the view, for example, and the view router one. Let's just use the view one in this example. And I think that gives you a whole bunch of stuff like ref and cool ones like that. And this is under the imports. So let's do this. We'll say imports, and that's an array. So we'll whack that in there. Now I think, yeah, okay, we also want an include as well. So let's just paste that in there and then have a look at it and eyeball it. So we're not using TypeScript, we're only using JavaScript. It doesn't matter. I think this will all work perfectly fine just using it like that. So let's run, I think I already yarned, didn't I? Yep. So let's run yarn dev and then see if this is going to work. So currently that works. Can I model that? Yep, that's all working fine. And if we come here and get rid of this ref and save it, let's see if it still works. My name. And there we go. That's still getting modeled. How unbelievably cool is that? We can now get rid of ref. This also works for things like computed, and I'm pretty sure it works in the IDE as well. So if I say ref here, oh, that's automatically importing that. So I might have to maybe restart Vola to get that working, because from memory, it fixes the IDE up as well. So let's say Vola restart view server, and let's give that another crack. So we'll say ref. Yeah, it's still trying to import it. And I'd say that this is a problem with my setup. Let's try closing code and then opening it up again. Because I'm pretty sure I did this before. Yes, that's fine. That's fine. Pretty sure I did this before and it worked fine. Once again, it's still trying to import that. Yeah, all right. That's probably another thing that I'll work on in my own time and sort of come back to you all and see if we can sort of figure out why that doesn't seem to be importing properly. But the point being, oh, actually, well, let's say const ref. Maybe that's the reason it's not working. Const form is equal to ref. All right. And I'm still not getting any of the typing there. Bugger. Maybe there's some extra setup that we need to do that's actually mentioned here. All right, not that I can see. It's definitely noting.view files. It worked when I did it with Quasar, so maybe that's it, the fact that I did it in a Quasar project. Yeah, all right. So not sure how to get that working with the IDE. Actually, I imagine that you probably have to have a lint file and then you'd set it as like a global. You probably have to do some settings in a lint file or maybe like a JS config file. So that's something I can look into later on. But let's just go full circle here. Name, email, double check that that actually does work. I think I already proved this, but I'm going to prove it a second time for you. And there we go. So if anybody's watching this, if you could, if you're watching this after the fact, let me know if you can figure out how to get Attributify working, because it doesn't seem to be working. I'm going to do a little bit of research myself behind the scenes. I'm guessing that there's something that I have to enable that isn't enabled by default. And also let me know how you would configure VS Code so that we get our type hinting for ref here. That would be super helpful as well. And things like auto-completion working correctly. Now, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time at the end here. You can you can probably stop watching this video or this stream if you've gotten to this point, and I'm going to see if I can get this working. So he probably talks about attributify mode. I'm guessing there's something extra I have to do. Ah, here we go. Maybe I actually have to import it to get it working. Yeah, and it looks like this is an additive thing. So let's come back to vite.config.js. Is that where this is? Yep. And then these are being imported like so. We'll stick that with the UnoCSS one. I'm not going to use the wind preset. I only want preset Uno and preset attributify. So by default, it looks like preset Uno is used. Otherwise, we can come in here and say presets and then simply whack in there preset Uno. Isn't that beautiful? It's so easy to do. Love it. And then preset attributify as well. I reckon that's going to fix it up. So let's close down the server now, run yarn dev. Give this a sec. Ah, it's working. All right, so this does work. Now, I just want to check that it works on the Quasar component as well. So we did here MT7, a margin top of 7. So let's get rid of that. That should get rid of the margin top, and it did. Now let's add MT7 there, and it works. So there we go. Now we're using attributify as well. And you know what? Maybe I'll actually save this project and whack it onto GitHub so that we can all like sort of contribute to it and see if we can create a really nice setup for using Quasar with UnoCSS. I reckon that'd be really cool. All right, so I'm going to turn this into a GitHub project, and I will post that in the comments of this video.